hunters look at winning oftentimes at defeating. We look at winning.
We didn't lose.
As defeating losses, meaning Colorado's like, okay, we're going to ban bobcat hunting, mountain lion hunting. Hunters come together, fight it, and the victory is that you didn't lose the ban.
You maintain the status quo.
You maintain the status quo. I would love to see like trapping came back to Colorado, that hound hunting came back to California, that the mountain lion season came back to California. What does that take in California? Give me the realistic. Is that just not going to happen?
This is the MeatEater podcast coming at you shirtless, severely bug bitten, and in my case, underwearless.
We hunt the MeatEater podcast.
You can't predict anything.
The MeatEater podcast is brought to you by First Light. Whether you're checking trail cams, hanging deer stands, or scouting for elk, First Light has performance apparel to support every hunter in every environment. Check it out at firstlight.com. FIRSTLITE.com. Okay, everybody, joined today by... Well, let me tell something real quick. So, just hang tight, Devin. Just a lot of things going on. I can't tell my main story, which I just told, but I'm going to tell my other story. So, you don't have you have little kids, right, Devin?
Yeah, 2 little girls.
Devin O'Day.
OD,
sorry. Devin O'D's here from BHA. We've met. We're like phone friends, but we haven't met in person till now. He's the Western Policy and Conservation. I am doing the intro. He's the Western Policy and Conservation Manager at Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Devin and I met when I was doing a little article for the LA Times about the black bear management in California, which we're going to speak to today because it's sort of emblematic and indicative of things that happen all around the country. So even if you're not from California, you should listen in. I was telling my favorite story in the world, which I don't want to tell, just out of respect for the town, but I'll tell this story. So
respect for the town.
Yeah, out of respect
that
for the
captures
town.
everything.
Here's a weird deal though, man. Listen to what happens to me last night. What was last night? Thursday?
Yes.
Okay. On Monday, we were going to take our 2 little ones to ice cream, but then we changed our mind. And man, they had a fit.
Mm-hmm.
A fit.
You still call them little ones?
There's the older one.
Yeah.
There'll always be the younger ones. I don't know how you call them. There's like an older one.
Little ones are like...
The younger ones. There's a 10, a 12, and a 15.
I know. I've met them.
I don't know what the 15 was doing. He's got like a girlfriend now and everything. But the 10 and 12, what was he doing? I don't know what he's doing. The 10 and 12, somehow it was like, we're going to go to ice cream, and then we reneged, which just pissed him off. I mean, that's a great way to piss a kid off.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife is going out with her friend to dinner the next night. So she just then says, your dad will take you tomorrow.
Mm.
So now I'm into that.
Mm-hmm.
I go down there and they're like when you take if you don't have kids, if you take kids to ice cream, you're going to argue about like what all cone everybody's going to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going in and I make a joke like there's like the little shitting cone, like I don't know what they call it, like a baby cone. Yeah. And I make a joke like, do you have? They didn't know I was joking, but I'm like, what do you have? Just to mess with my kids. I said, what do you have that's like a step down from that baby cone? They didn't get the joke. So anyhow, we agree that we're all going to get the not that word. We're going to get the waffle cone. We're going to get the waffle cone, okay? And like, so my 2 little ones, I think it was just them. Yeah, they get the waffle cone, and then I'm like, I'll have the same thing. They then tell me, we're out.
Mm. Oh.
So I now get stuck with the old kind when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, that wafer.
The wafer
that
cone.
wafer thing that's like
I would have bought
coffee filter.
2 of those just to make a point that you can have whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Now check this. That's the pre-story. Last night, we go down to the ice cream place. This time, it's the 2 little ones. The other one was getting his head shaved at a party. the older one. The two younger ones. It's my wife, my two younger ones, my daughter's two friends, my buddy Matt Cook. We're in line. Rosemary, her two buddies, Matthew, my wife, all get that cone. The waffle cone. I'm not kidding you. I order. She goes, we're out of those.
Oh.
I'm like, you don't say. I said, I was here the other night and that happened. And my daughter's like, she thinks you're being mean. So something's going on at that ice cream place that I don't understand. I need to get to the bottom of it. What I need to do is find someone to come down later and order that cone.
See if they're just hiding it from you.
There's something fishy at, what's that place called?
Genuine, probably.
It's right by the elementary school.
They got a Polaroid with your picture on there that says no cone.
Yeah,
There's no waffles.
Yeah.
No cone for you.
Is that
Don't
off
cash
7?
any checks.
Genuine? I
Don't
love
give
that.
them a
place.
waffle
No, it's not
cone.
genuine. It's Sweet Peaks.
Genuine's
Yeah.
too, like, you go there, it's tons of people that aren't even in the right demographic to be out for ice cream.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Everybody
mean?
likes ice cream.
No.
Or love. I mean,
I'm in the demo because I have children. If you go to Genuine, it's people in their like late 20s, early 30s lined up for ice cream. I'm like, shouldn't you people all be lined up for a drink?
but that goes back to what I mean. Everybody loves ice cream.
And
It's really good.
What's the demographic
and drinking
for ice
culture is endangered.
It's like if I go to yoga with my wife and there's a dude there, like 35, whatever, there by himself. I'm always like, you come on. Come on.
I don't think the ice
Come on,
cream.
let's talk straight.
There's no
Let's
ice
talk straight.
cream
I know
demographic.
plenty of
There's an ice
dudes
cream
who do
demographic.
There
yoga.
is not.
Dude, there is. And like, who's not in it? Randall. If I see Randall down getting ice cream, I'm going to think like, I don't want to say what I'm going to think.
Yeah, but there's also things when you look at me, you'd be like, that guy's squarely in the ice cream demographic. He's walking around wearing basketball shoes.
Yeah.
Doesn't really fit in his jeans.
I'm not a big government guy, but I don't think there should be like a little card that you get from the government that like says you have business at the ice cream place. And it would be like how old are you?
You should be eating a pint in
I think-
shame above your sink.
I actually, when I walk into the ice cream place, I like to think that the people behind the counter are thinking, good, finally somebody who knows what they want. They'll look me in the eye. They're not going to fight with the people they came in with.
They're not on their tippy toes
quickly.
trying to look over the counter.
They don't want a taste of everything.
Yeah. Oh.
Actually, I'm the one who wants a taste of everything.
Oh yeah, my wife embarrassed me last night. She sampled 2 things before she made the order, and I was getting embarrassed about
Oh
it.
yeah, I
Two.
can't stand that.
She 2 samples. I was like, I'm gonna have to ask you
But
to
there's
step
like
outside.
but there's like a trick.
Was the order one of those 2, or did she order something different? 'Cause
No,
that's
she settled on
that's
the
the really
second. Yeah, she
embarrassing
settled
one.
Oh,
on the
yeah, no,
second
I'm the
choice.
really
I was
embarrassing
embarrassed.
one
I was
then.
embarrassed about
That's
it.
when you should have slipped in there and ordered yours. You would have got a cone.
Yeah,
Maybe.
she walked out with a waffle.
Right.
But the funny part, this isn't even the main part of the story. Like, at the elementary school is right there. At the end of the year, they wheel all the junk, all the kids leave. They wheel it outside. I'm not kidding you. Like, all the lost and found, when they're done, they're done.
Like a bad breakup.
So the playground, like if you need to outfit a kid, the day school ends, go to the playground. It's all out there.
Oh, there's some nice clothes in this town too.
Real nice clothes. Yeah. We go down there and my kid's like, we're going to go to the playground. I'm like, no, man, don't go to the playground. But my wife overrode me. And so we go down to the playground and walk in through the open gate. There's kids all over playing. And all the clothes. And the first thing my wife lays eyes on is our boys' clothes. We retrieve 3 hoodies. And I pick up a pair of muck boots. And I know my own work. There was like a pair of muck boots that had an L-shaped cut in them. And I had sewed them and put neoprene patch. I pick up these muck boots and I'm like, that's my work. He doesn't even have a recollection of owning these muck boots. So we walk out of there and then everybody's probably thinking, like all the other people are probably thinking we're like shopping off the free rack. I wanted to yell out like, this is actually our stuff. Hands off. Yeah, like we're not just taking. This is our kid. Like this is our stuff in this playground.
Mm.
Yeah,
Good.
very eventful evening. Very eventful evening. Devin O'Day's here from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, Western Policy and Conservation Manager, to talk about black bears. Can we talk about black bears outside of California for a minute?
Yeah, of course.
Is this your picture of the giant black bear?
No, that's not me. That's my buddy Ned.
But I'm saying you gave us the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Phil, pull that picture up. That's a nice black bear. That's got to make REI proud.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
You know? Because they might wonder if anyone ever does anything legitimate in those packs, and then there it is right there.
I wonder how they'd react if you came into the store and asked them if they had tips for washing blood out of their backpacks.
You know the hydrogen peroxide tip.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that someone was saying that for you folks that don't know, if you have a bloody pack and put hydrogen peroxide in a spray bottle, anything you got blood on, my God, does it come out?
Not that you
Blood.
don't want to use the heavy duty
Right, 'cause that'll-
peroxide.
Blood
Weird
hates
stuff.
Yeah, don't use like the stuff
Yeah.
you use to bleach a skull,
No.
which is what percent? 45?
Yeah, it's a 40 or something like that. Yeah.
Dude, we could do a whole show on hydrogen peroxide.
I could have used this like
Devin,
three,
you'll have
three
to come
days
back
ago.
some other time.
Yeah, my
Do you have
pack.
talk
blood
about
on
hydrogen.
something, or do you have a skull you were cleaning?
I couldn't find my normal pack that I put my laptop in, so I just brought my hunting pack on the airplane. And when I got to the airport, I noticed there's just blood all over it.
Yeah.
And I thought
Yeah.
for sure I was gonna get pulled to the side.
Sure,
but
man.
I'm gonna use that trick next time.
Yeah. I got pulled to the side the other day, and before I got pulled over, I had a big tongue, a buffalo's tongue, frozen. And the guy used the term like, we need to look at your pack. And he used the term organic mass.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day in Catch Can, I had like a chunk of deer meat roast that was left over. And he's like, I need to check your pack. And I said, I think there's an organic mass in there. And he goes, you know that term. I'm like, well, I learned it from you people. Yeah, I don't know that naturally. Yeah, 3%. So if you're going to bleach a skull, you brush on,
The gel stuff.
which is like heavy duty. It's
Yeah.
what people
It'll
use
peel
to
your skin.
Yeah, it's what people use when they're to bleach hair, and it also, when you go look on Amazon and you're trying to buy the really heavy duty hydrogen peroxide that'll bleach a skull, it's, you know what they have it listed as is to sanitize greenhouse equipment.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that either. It must kill like molds and funguses and stuff on greenhouse equipment. On your backpack, this is a Yanni trick. You put 3% hydrogen peroxide in a spray bottle and spray it, let it sit a minute and turn a hose out on it. I don't know. Blood hates hydrogen peroxide. Hates it. If you're on blood thinners, just drink hydrogen peroxide. Save money. But here's the catch: is someone, before you do that, someone told me that it I think it can degrade the stitching.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I was told.
Yeah, I think like a lot of pack companies will tell you just to use water. Do like a long cold soak
Yeah.
because they don't want to be responsible for their stitching falling apart.
A thing that I'll do when I can, I did it there. In fact, I did it the other day in Alaska. Is I'll put rocks. I'll just put some big rocks in my backpack and throw it in the river.
Yeah.
Or throw it in a fast flowing creek. If the blood's still fresh, and when you come back a few hours later, it's just the cold blood, the cold water, the running cold water,
Mm-hmm.
carefree. So Devin, you're gonna do the opposite of spot burning. Like you're like, come to my state,
Yeah. No, we got plenty of bears, so
come to your state.
that's what the department's talking about too, is figuring out how to get more people to come. You know, how do we entice these out-of-state hunters? Because California, I mean, let's face it, it's not exactly the out-of-state dream destination of most people on their wish list, unless you're trying to get that like 30-year sheep tag.
Yeah.
What's a non-resident bear tag cost in California?
Non-resident bear tag is a great question. I can pull that up for you. I think it's a couple $100.
That's not bad.
I know, you know what? I know what the problem is, why they won't go there, and they don't know, and I don't think you know. You want to know what it is?
I want to know.
The primary vegetation is poison oak. Me and Giannis have like conscious. When we're thinking about hunting in California, the number one thing on our mind is like, but do I really want to have poison oak for 3 months? because
Especially where all the bears are.
we are very susceptible.
Yeah, I am too.
$387 for a black bear tag,
That's
non-resident.
I bet you in this picture, if you look carefully, everything you're looking at is poison oak. You got to be rugged. Like, that's the thing that people don't think about. If you're susceptible, you got to be prepared to be miserable. I'm like I have the skin of a little baby. When it comes to poison oak. Oh, Kids Podcast is out. Came out on January 30, which hasn't happened yet.
January.
No, what am I saying?
June.
What's the other J month?
Yeah,
June, July.
There's a few of them.
September.
Yeah, so today, in the future, when you're listening to this, episode 2 is out. And importantly, it's on its own feed, just like last season. You can't listen to it in the MeatEater podcast feed. You have to please go and listen
To the
and
kids' feed.
subscribe. Exactly.
How old are your daughters, Devin?
2 and 5.
Have they ever listened to the MeatEater Kids podcast? Just lie and say they have.
It's their favorite podcast, dude.
And they love it.
Great.
Yeah, they beg me to listen to it every week.
Phil's masterpiece.
They like the
I wouldn't
jingles.
don't be being a smart ass. It's a good podcast for kids. You should play it for them.
All right, part of their education.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to get them the Crayfish book though.
Sure, I'll sign it for you.
Yeah, when you called me talk about black bears, whatever, last year, the year before, I had a kiddie pool filled with crayfish.
We talked about that.
A couple
yeah,
hundred
yeah.
of them. I got a good story there too. We had one of them actually escape, and then we found him the next day. And my wife, we had eaten all of them. We boiled all the crayfish, and
That last crayfish is like,
and so then we were like, we had the whole neighborhood over, which is funny too, because this is San Diego, and everyone's like, "Where'd you get the baby lobsters?"
with claws.
Yeah,
Mud bugs. They're mud bugs.
but we had one escape, and then my wife's like, "Well, we got to keep him now." And so he became Stowy the stowaway.
Huh.
He lived in a little flower vase for a couple weeks, and I was like, "Well, this isn't cool. We got to get him in an aquarium at least. We're going to eat him, or we're going to give him an aquarium."
Sure.
And then ended up going out catching more crayfish with we're doing like removals with the Forest Service, where they have some endangered species habitat, and did a whole nother boil. Got another one, gave him a little friend. They mated, had a bunch of little baby crayfish.
No.
Then my neighbor, we had a shitty little aquarium. Then my neighbor gave me this amazing tank.
Huh.
And so we had this like mansion. And so Stowy went from, hot in this little flower vase to an aquarium to a mansion. He's got a wife.
a
He's
family.
got a bunch of kids. Then, this is like the American dream. This is where it goes off the rails. Though.
Aquaculture.
Wow.
But you know what? I wonder though, him having witnessed the carnage that he witnessed, I wonder if he still hates you.
Oh, I mean, certainly. Well, there was like,
If I come in here and I kill everybody in here, in this room, but I take you, and I'm like, now I'm going to set you up with a sweet house and a wife. Are you like, man, this guy's great? Or are you like, this guy's a monster?
Because you did kidnap him originally.
And then if you have children, do you stare at them and know in the back of your mind, something's going to happen someday?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it before. I don't want to let you in on the secret, but he has to live with that guilt,
No.
that foreknowledge of what awaits.
Too bad you can't interview that crayfish.
he just died. This is the he just died
The
like 3
story's not
days ago.
over.
No, it's not
Oh,
over.
no.
This is the eulogy because this is like the American dream of a crayfish. But things got really sour when he and his mate, they got into a tizzy. She ripped off his arm.
What?
And then somehow she escaped, which blows my mind. Our babysitter found the female walking across the kitchen floor, put it back in the tank, and this was too much for Stowy. He couldn't handle it, so he killed her. And then it was just him with the kids. And then one of the kids got revenge on him once the kid got big enough and killed him. Just like 5
Man,
days
that's
ago.
a good movie
Oedipal
right there.
That's what I'm
complex.
saying.
Well,
Yeah.
This is the script
that's
for
the
your-
story of Oedipus.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Life and death on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Life and
So
death.
How are the
I
kids
want to do
taking
this
it, though?
quick, but like, if you guys, if people out there, if you hear someone say like Oedipus or the Oedipal complex, it's that like that you want to kill your dad and marry your mom. Oedipus didn't know he was adopted, and someone comes to him like a soothsayer, says, "Hey, heads up, you're gonna kill your dad and marry your mom." He's like, to hell I am, and takes off and goes to a new town because he thinks his parents are the wrong people. So he shows up in the new town, promptly kills a guy, marries a lady. His real mom and dad. That's just a little bit of background.
And then doesn't he take his eyes out? Doesn't he take his own eyes out?
Rather than look at what he's done.
Yeah.
That's a terrible story. I mean, that's a lot of ups and downs in that story. So where are you at now? You have just the babies.
I mean, they're not babies anymore. Now we got the new, there's a power struggle going on. It's kind of
How
like
many are in there?
There's 6. And we got a bunch of fish too, except I thought the crayfish would eat the fish, but they're just not interested.
Years ago, I did something real similar. We got to get to the show in a minute here, but we went out. This was we went out and chopped a huge hole in the ice in a river where we knew that there was a lot of crayfish in the summer, and flipped all the rock, like you could get in with waders and walk around in this hole. And we catch a ton of crayfish that are comatose under the rocks, like out of it. The water's so cold. Bring them in, put them in a wash tub, and the minute they warm up, they're all just super energetic, like instantly. Had a crawfish boil. Took one little dinker that was too small and put it in an aquarium with my roommate's little baby. He had this crazy little white, some kind of sinking frog, like a little white aquarium frog that would live at the bottom of the aquarium. He was worried about it, so we took the crayfish's pinchers away from him and put him in there. He gradually grows back a little mini claw. And one day my roommate peers in there, and here's that son of a bitch laying in the bottom of the aquarium holding that dead frog. Like he caught it.
The whole time he was growing that claw back, he was eyeballing that frog.
He's like, one of these days, you know the liquor, I'm going to have my claw back. Here, if Clay Newcomb's listening, here's a story that has everything that Clay would like. A Kentucky man arrested for releasing a raccoon into a business months after fleeing police on a mule.
Only in Kentucky.
I know that town, Murray, Kentucky. A man from Murray, Kentucky, I've spent a bunch of time there. A man from Murray, Kentucky was arrested last week after police say he released a raccoon inside a business. This is the same man, just months after the same man was arrested for attempting to evade police officers on a mule. Why can't we have him on the show?
Maybe
I can maybe think of a few reasons.
Radio Live.
Yeah. A guy wrote in, they're having a baby, and they got it narrowed down to 2 names. Giannis and Callahan.
I mean, this must be a super fan.
Well,
it's
the
not
Callahan
half.
thing.
He's half. He's like Giannis because of Giannis. Callahan is just coincidence because it's after Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry Callahan.
So it's like Cal is like just caught the crossfire.
We don't have to tell him that.
Anyhow, this is the guy writing in, Brad. Anyhow, I was telling a person I help out at an auction in Coldwater, Michigan, that we were between Giannis and Callahan. So this individual, Brad, is explaining to someone, hey, we're going to name it Callahan or Giannis. He's talking to a gal. The gal then informs him. Back to the letter. She then informed me that she knew a Giannis and said his name is Giannis Putelis. She said he was a real estate appraiser in Michigan who she worked with as an attorney. Couple things. If you meant a building inspector, is that the same thing? No. If you meant the building inspector, Giannis's dad, also named Giannis, is a building inspector in Michigan. But what you're overlooking is that all Latvians are named Giannis. They all are named Giannis. So there are some hundreds of Giannis Putelises running around.
So it may or may not be Yanni's dad. Okay.
Papa Yanni.
Or it could be one of his
They're all
relatives.
named Giannis.
I think that it's he's a building inspector. This
Real
woman
estate
calls him a real.
appraiser,
I feel like
yeah.
that's
Rather than
too
it just
close
being like
together.
too many
Right, yeah.
Giannis's running
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. I mean, there still could be too many, but I feel like this checks out. I'm not going to disagree with you on the point that there are too many Giannis's.
Yeah, very confusing.
So is Brad hoping we come up with an answer for him here?
I would name it Steve.
Waiting for that.
Which dudes named Steve are a dying breed, man.
I would say just know that if you name it Giannis, you're also naming the child Janice as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And Siri won't know how to spell it.
And you're gonna condemn him to a life of explaining how to spell his name to every like restaurant host or hostess, every DMV person.
No one believes him.
Yeah.
Anyone. If he goes into a coffee shop and he tells one person, like, they're like, what's the name for your order? He'll be like, Giannis. And then they'll be like, how do you spell it? And he'll spell it for him. And then it goes to the next person who yells out when their order's ready. There's no way it's not going to be Janice. I was staying there with Giannis one time, and we're weighing bags to get on a charter plane. And there's a guy there taking everybody's weight. So he's saying people's names. And he goes, Janice. And Giannis steps forward and he goes, it's Giannis. And stands on the scale. And the guy looks at Giannis and looks at the guy next to him and says, Janice, 172. Or whatever the hell the guy is. He's like, don't bullshit me, buddy. I know what your name is. Yeah, I don't know what to name that kid. Doug Duran doubling down on something here. I was goofing on Doug last time I was with Doug. He was telling my kids a story. He was trying to convince my kids that you should always back in, like your car. Apparently, in the oil field, they call it first move forward. Like Doug always back, no matter how much hassle he has to go through, he always backs in. He always claims, like he says that his dad got attacked by his own chainsaw, and Doug's telling my kids like, if my dad hadn't backed in, he wouldn't be alive. Even though he's dead, 'cause he died of old age. But he would have died that day had he not backed in. And I'm telling my kids, like, listen, Doug wants you to back in. That didn't make the difference between Doug's dad dying or not that day, because he drove down the road. Doug rode in doubling down. Here's Doug. I do want to correct you about something with my dad's chainsaw story. He didn't drive himself to the hospital. He was barely able to get to town. So literally every second was important. Had there not been an EMT in downtown Kaz at that moment when he pulled in and fell out of the truck, and had the ambulance not been just down the road, he would have died. Maybe we should reenact it sometime when you are here.
I'm not sure what that means. Like actually.
When he does our MeatEater Sheds shoot, he's going to take the viewer to the spot where Doug's dad was attacked by the chainsaw. I had turned Doug on to a book, one of the best I've read in a long time, called The Land Breakers. It's an old book. Holy cow, is it good. It's about, it's like the first, it's kind of after the Long Hunters, but it's like the first farmers to begin moving into the Appalachian valleys. And it's like the story of farmers trickling into this valley in Appalachia and establishing corn patches. They're hunting bears all the time. It's a phenomenal novel. Doug is surprised I like that book. He's delighted that I liked it and says the surprise comes from the amount of personal reflections, human condition, and even romance. Wonderful book. Have you read it?
I haven't.
I sent it to Doug because the knowledge about trees that the author has, that he then gives to, like, the author is very knowledgeable about purposes for wood. A guy wrote in about something that I don't really understand.
Yeah, Randall and I were trying to figure this out earlier.
Basically, someone has submitted a formal petition to the EPA. It's kind of an interesting concept, but you can see where it's going. Someone submitted a formal petition to the EPA, which probably happens every day, but requesting that humans become wildlife.
officially
Be considered
categorized
as,
as.
yeah.
Be like, why are humans not officially considered as wildlife? Because the play would be for regulatory effects, meaning that you wouldn't be able, like, there's certain things you can't do that would be damaging to wildlife, and you wouldn't be able to do certain things to human habitats because it would be like you'd be affecting wildlife. I gather that's the play. It's a very interesting concept.
As if NEPA isn't long enough already, man. That's gonna really, really throw a wrench in the system.
Yeah, I see 1,000 ways this isn't going to go down. Because then are they going to do lethal control in overpopulated areas? You know, I mean, like, there's a lot. It's just an interesting concept.
Yeah,
Not
like,
sure
why
I want
would we not?
Not sure I want to back hunting as a management strategy anymore.
It's more like a barroom conversation than a.
Yeah. I, as a parent, especially when my kids were younger, I always tried to like over accentuate to them that we were an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? I would be like a lot of animals, like bears, like us humans, right? I would always do that to sort of get them in that frame of considering us as animals, but that's not going to fly. There's a move to, how far, who knows this story well? Guy says, I'm just going to read what the guy says, because this is a fascinating topic, and it bleeds into what we are going to talk about today. Reinstatement of black bear hunting in Florida. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Is that from Rush Limbaugh's show? Longtime listener, first-time caller?
I don't know if it's Rush specifically. I thought it was just sort of a convention of talk radio.
Mm-hmm. I remember Limbaugh would have, you would call in and say dittos. And it meant all that stuff. Because every caller's like, long time listener, first time caller, love the show. So then it would become, you just call and go like dittos. And then just get to the point. Florida has been in the process of evaluating and getting public input about reinstatement of a quota black bear hunt. It has been a wildly controversial topic and has been gaining huge traction in the media lately. He's attached the proposal from the Black Bear Commission. He's going on talking about more and more bear interactions in Florida. Bear interactions and bear sightings in places where they didn't historically have them. Beach visitors, tourists. The other day, he took his first bear attack call 2 weeks ago. Made national news. He says, I know the MeatEater crew normally handle more Midwest and Northern issues. That is completely untrue.
We go all over the place.
Dude, that hurts.
I think
that hurts my heart.
Unintentionally.
That hurts my heart. We talk about Florida more than any other state. We do.
I'm sure they have ice cream down there.
Oh, yeah, but it's people with kids.
Only.
Yeah, like dudes like Randall down there. They'd lock you up. I had a person in Florida one time tell me, like cold, stone cold. She's probably like 23, 24-year-old woman. Tell me stone cold like she's telling me a fact. She told me Florida's the freest state. I was wondering how you calibrate that, like how you measure that. Yeah, man. This is a little bit Machiavellian, but like if you were a bear hunter in Florida and you wanted to take like a Machiavellian approach to pursuing your interests, you would almost hope, not for bear attacks, you would hope for more
conflict,
bear conflict, because this is what happened in New Jersey.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just like a rerun
in New Jersey. New Jersey had historically had bear hunting. Through poor management, bear numbers were greatly reduced. They did a pause on bear hunting and some other moves. They rebuilt bears to where they had the highest density in the country. Did a bear hunt. The anti-hunters had a shit fit. Their governor, what's Murphy's first name?
Phil Murphy.
Phil Murphy campaigns on an anti-bear hunting plank in his platform. Gets elected. They shut down the bear hunt in New Jersey. First, like they closed public land.
Yeah, state on land. And then he just let the bear management plan expire, which essentially just outlawed all bear hunting.
One of the things they did in New Jersey to just totally screw hunters too, you had to do a mandatory check. They would publicize, like you would need to pull into a rest area that was known to the public, and they like publicly, openly seal everybody's bears so that all the protesters can stand there heckling you, taking pictures of you while you check your bear. Any other state, when you go to check your bear, you go in, talk to someone at the desk, and then you go to a little whatever, garage, back room, you meet with a biologist, they check your bear. They don't turn it into like a public spectacle of subjecting people to that kind of exposure. Murphy then, all of a sudden, what happens? Bear conflicts shoot through the roof so much that Murphy comes back and says, "It pains me to say it, but I was wrong. We have to have the bear hunt." So if you were like I said, the Machiavellian approach to bear hunting in Florida is hoping for bear conflict. Because that's your clearest path. The same day, in fact, this is kind of weird. The same day in the same place where the girl told me that Florida is the freest state in the nation, that same day in that same place, I met a Florida game commissioner who told me he opposed the bear hunt only because of not wanting to deal with the public blowback that would come his way. He told me that.
Wow.
I don't want to say his name because he was kind of telling me in confidentiality. He told me I didn't want to deal with the antis.
Ugh.
They like swayed his vote. What happened on that hunt? What did they have? 48 hours?
Well, so
Randall's going to do a little report.
Florida had a black bear season from like the 30s up until 1994. And then it was closed from 94 to 2015. They reopened a fall hunt in 2015, and they shut it down within 2 days because they were, I don't think they actually went over the quota.
But they were speeding toward it.
They were killing so many that like another day of hunting probably would have taken them well over the quota. So they killed 300 bears in 2 days.
You're ruining the story.
Oh,
you're not getting it right.
Oh,
I asked you one thing to do here.
Well, then you said Randall's going to give a little account of.
Yeah, but your account's not right. My understanding, and you're a professional researcher.
I've got my research right in front of me.
I thought it went like this. That like they build a buffer in. When they close, there's a 48-hour window or in Florida I think it was a 24-hour window. Do you have a PhD or not?
I mean, I'm just going by what I
do.
I'm just going by what I read.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I don't think you could just close it because you're not going to you have to build
my recollection.
Well,
my recollection is they were speeding toward the quota.
Yes, and so they
called it closed, but they can't immediately close it because how are people supposed to get the word? Like, let's say you're like waiting for one to step out. You know, you got a shot, but he's not quite clear, and they go like, "Hey, season's over." But you're not looking at your phone, and then the bear steps clear. You're not in violation.
Well, they did. That makes sense to me. That's how we run our unlimited hunts here. But they shut down Central and East Panhandle regions after the first day on Saturday. They said,
but
but what?
There was a 24-hour window. They were speeding toward it, but by the end of the 24 hours, they had overshot it, and then everybody had a conniption. The antis had a conniption.
Oh, I see now. In the Panhandle, they did go into Sunday and killed triple the quota.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so they killed, the overall quota was 320, and they shut it down on Sunday night with 295 bears killed.
But then by the time wrapped. What was it?
Geez. See, this is the real issue with hastily assembled research here. Actual harvest 304.
And the quota was what? Panhandle?
320. Well, for the overall state, the quota was 320, but the area where they met the quota on the first day, it ended up that they tripled the quota. And so I think they just shut the whole thing down before the rest of the state. That's generally speaking. But yeah, they killed 300 bears in 2 days. 38 of them were sows with cubs.
Whew.
And they haven't had a hunt since then.
Sows with cubs. That's
Because it was treated in the, with all due respect, I didn't give Randall much time. Do you notice like this group of, there's like a fan group about Randall?
Yes.
I wonder what they're thinking right now.
Well, I think
Their support, they're all those dedicated and loyal Randimals. They are, I'm sure.
I think they
in
understand
that
the constraints of what I was asked to do here.
They're reasonable people.
Shout out to the Randimals.
But, yeah, I mean, I've pieced it together. I feel like.
I thought you did well.
I want to know more
A lot
about
of times I'm wrong about stories.
Ted Nugent bought a Florida bear tag.
Good for him.
2015.
We were gonna. We don't have time anymore. We were gonna spend a bunch of time goofing on this thing in California where they got an orphan bear cub and they're raising it up, and it's a bunch of like furries who are all dressed as black bears. like that's the problem. To not have it, that's the problem. That's the way to keep it from not acclimating to people.
Yeah, those bears are doomed.
like the bear's gonna like get out and be like, I'm just another wild bear.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's some things, but
they're not like the bears I'm used to.
We're not gonna talk about
different.
that. That would have been funny had we goofed on that for a long time. We're not gonna. All right. The story of the California black bear. It's taken us a long time to get here, Devin.
Usually does.
I see you're an avid listener.
Long time listener, first time guest. Dittos.
Just a couple quick points on that. We thought about killing that whole part of the show, but we're not gonna.
Good.
But what I am going to do is I'm looking to, in the near future, split the shows and just do interviews and just do, this is something we've considered for a long time, very clean interviews. So you'd be like on as a clean interview. And then a different thing, which is just talking about dumb stuff.
So audience, feel free to let us know your thoughts on that.
Thinking about doing that.
I'm against it.
It's part of my professional development.
It might be a little too serious. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about it.
1948. Did you supply this timeline? Like,
He
know
did.
this stuff inside and out. In 1948, black bears get classified as a game animal in California. Like, what does that mean, right? What does that mean for people to hear that they're classified as a game animal?
They're regulated,
Okay.
by the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
So prior to that, it was like, have at them.
Varmints.
Prior to that, we're just killing grizzlies till we extirpated them, and
You
people are just, kind of running around hunting. I mean, we had our commission was established prior to that, but I don't think they were formally classified as a game animal until, like you said.
Got it. So that's kind of the state at which a way to think about that too is that if sandhill cranes, like this is a little pet subject of mine that I'm interested in. If my home state of Michigan were to enact a sandhill crane season, which they should, it would require them declaring it. It would require them doing this. It's classified as one thing now, which makes it not like subject to being listed with a season. The first step is to go like, we hereby declare the sandhill crane to be a game animal. And that's like part of the pathway.
And that usually triggers like a management plan too.
Okay.
I know like we'll go on tangents, but recently there's a proposal in California to classify coyotes as a game animal, and so that would trigger a management plan, and everyone's like, I don't think that's going anywhere. Hopefully not. But that's part of the process, right?
And that's coming from people who
them.
don't want that's coming from people that don't want them to be a game animal. They want to be able to curb, right? Their aim is to be like that. Yeah, that it won't be year round, unlimited, whatever.
Yeah, classifying them as a game animal allows you to protect them. It's not like oh, here's an open season. It's a game animal now.
Yeah, it's not dudes that hate coyotes doing that. It's dudes that love coyotes.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
In that case. Okay. We're gonna jump up to 1980, where we have a sort of black bear benchmark. This is all deep history. Hit me with, like, in 1980, what was the status? So Reagan comes in, right? 80?
Mm-hmm. Well, he was elected in 80 and then took office in
January 81. Okay. So just for you people to remember this.
So it's Carter.
There's that PhD.
On his way out. Reagan on his Carter on his way out. Reagan on his way in.
Carter,
and what's going on in California? Hit me with what's the status of black bears in California in 1980?
So 1980, I think they've got the population around 10 to 15,000 bears. So that's the estimate. Started getting a little bit more restrictive as far as management goes. So that's when they took prohibited trapping, no killing cows, no killing of cubs and sows, and then they reduced the bag limit from 2 to 1.
And if I can jump in, because I didn't know what 10 to 15,000 bears meant, I'm looking here that Montana has between 13,000 and 17,000 black bears.
Yeah.
So
currently?
so like that's a fairly robust population.
Not like it is now. And
just wait.
Yeah, just wait. Not like it is now. And counting bears, I think, has gotten a little more refined.
Yeah.
I think it used to be like a little bit tougher to count bears back in those days. But I mean, it's a guideline, right? It's a general sense. But of course, if you're saying 10 to 15,000, you're opening yourself up to a wide gap.
Right.
There's a lot of numbers
right
between
but
those
still
two
like
numbers.
Yeah, but still it's in the vicinity of where, like, what we think of as black bear numbers in Montana, where we obviously don't have a shortage.
Was Reagan the Gipper or the Kipper?
The Gipper.
As much as he is like celebrated among traditional as much as he is celebrated among like pre-Trump Republicans, the old kind of Republicans from a couple of years ago, he wound up not being the hunter's best friend when it came to black bear management. Isn't that correct? Like, wasn't it? Didn't Reagan sign?
That was mountain lions. I don't know
he
about
signed
black
on
bears.
mountain lions.
Yeah.
Okay, he signed the ban on dogs for mountain lions, right?
He also signed the ban on no open
hunting.
carry in California.
Did he?
Mm-hmm. Because basically, so the Black Panthers couldn't.
So you had to start wearing your pistol in your pants, not out of your pants. You had to start hiding it in your pants instead of exposing it out of your
Reagan's a
pants.
big Hollywood guy, He's full of all sorts of contradictions.
Okay, then we're gonna start narrowing in on much more just for you listeners. We're just laying a little groundwork here. We're just laying some background before we start getting into like how bear management works in our most populous state, and how bear management might work in a state near you, coming soon. 1998. So now we're getting closer. I'm a young buck. I'm kind of an older buck. 6 years out of high school. Go on. 1998.
That was when the
Clinton.
previous. We'll do this presidentially. That was when the previous management plan was established.
Okay.
And so that was the framework that we operated on in California just up until this year, when we updated the new management plan.
Yeah. So in 1998, they're like, here's how we're going to handle bears. And then 20 some years goes by, and it's how we're managing bears.
Correct.
And in 98, the population had
increased. Yeah.
increased.
And all this data is just coming from hunter harvest. So they're using, age, sex ratio, and just hunter harvest from premolars. That's it. They're not doing like a ton of they don't have the current integrated population model that we have now that gives you a much more accurate representation of.
So they're able to
population.
determine, they're able to make a stab back in 1998. They're able to make a stab at how many bears are there based strictly on what they're seeing hunters bring in.
I'm sure there's some scientific stuff, but that is the core of the model. It's just hunter harvest data.
Okay. And in 98, so again, that population estimate in 1980, we're going to get into some wild numbers now, but coming up here. In 80, 10 to 15,000 bears estimated. Jump ahead almost 20 years, the estimate 17 to 23,000 bears. Notably, the plan indicated an increase in the bear population and documented an expansion of black bears along the central coast in Southern California. So bears moving into new places, right?
And that's because historically they were grizzlies. And,
that's a good point.
Grizzlies are extirpated and black bears are now like filling the void. And they're like, oh, hey, there's nothing killing us down here. All right.
Yeah.
That's
let's take over.
fascinating.
That's funny how slow some of that stuff takes place, right? That you're still seeing adjustments. Do you know what I mean? Like even today, you're probably seeing adjustments from extirpations of wolves in the early 2000s, or not the early 2000s, what am I saying? In the early 20th century, you're still seeing wildlife adjust, but it takes like 100 years, right? For things to get used, or how long it takes wildlife to get used to people. It takes generations of mountain lions, generations of bears to get like used to people and figure it out and raise their offspring to be like, no. Like you can do this, but you can't do that. You gotta like, when you get to a road, here's how I like to do it. Do you know what I mean? And they like gradually learn. They're like, oh, no. You can like totally go into a neighborhood, man, and
trash cans.
But
great.
Not that neighborhood. Like not that neighborhood. Yeah, they figure it out somehow. You know? Okay. 2012, this is when this story starts getting kind of juicy and interesting. So hit us with 2012.
So up until this point, you could hunt bears with dogs, and that was, we were hitting the quota every once in a while, right? Like pretty regularly that quota.
Can I stop you for a second?
Please.
Before this, like, was there spring and fall? Was there baiting?
No,
none of that.
All that was back in like I think around the 80s.
Okay.
A lot of that stuff they went pretty.
That
restricted.
had already been taken away.
So we had dogs, but no baiting, no spring season, just one tag.
Okay.
And we're hitting the quota, not every year, but around that like 1,700 bears. We're with
fall
dogs.
hunting with dogs, hitting the quota of how many bears?
1,700.
Okay, out of an estimated, say
they did change that by like 100 or so. So I think it maybe like was 1,600 and went up to 1,700, but it's hovered around there. It hasn't changed dramatically over time.
Okay, and they got this quote, and periodically hunters are like capping it and hitting a close season. Primarily with the use of hounds.
Yeah, it was instrumental to people being successful for sure.
Okay. And then 2012, what goes on and how does that happen?
Well, the legislature, that story of legislature gets involved. There's an effort to ban hunting with dogs. They're successful, and immediately following that, the harvest rate drops significantly. So we don't hit the quota after that. Legislative session after that bill was passed, we do not hit the quota until today. We still haven't hit the quota, and that is really like why everything got so sideways with the petition from the Humane Society and all the efforts to ban bear hunting, is because the population model, when you just take it strictly on hunter harvest data, everyone went, "Oh no, the bear population is collapsing. Look. They're not killing as many bears. Look, they're only killing half as many bears. There must be half as many bears on the landscape."
That's the great irony and perversity in this story that gets to me, is like the same people that push to end dog hunting for bears then trumpet the reduction in harvest as a way of showing that bear numbers are collapsing when you know that they know. You know that they know what happened.
But it's an argument people will buy if they don't think about it. They don't understand it,
If you wanted to see bear numbers in California really collapse, you'd end all bear hunting. You'd be like, no one's checking a bear anymore. There's none left. You know?
Oh, interesting. In the new management plan, they actually have an interesting little snippet that says that in some areas where there isn't bear hunting, where bear hunting is not allowed, you get higher rates of like infanticide and like starvation and intercompetition because there's just so many bears that like some of the younger bears aren't making it. Their mortality rate increases. So I thought that was kind of fascinating.
Do you have some of those stats in here about like black bear predation on mule deer and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some crazy ones. So that new management plan, I think they put a couple $1 million like into all the work that went into that. They built out an entirely new integrated population model, which utilizes hunter harvest data, but it also they collared a bunch of bears. They have a bunch of hair snares. They have a bunch of camera traps and data that's all building out this plan that's
to give you a much more robust picture of what's going on.
Yeah, and regionally specific too. But some of those crazy stats that they include in that, they did a study on mountain lions and kleptoparasitism up in Northwest California.
Explain that term.
So that's where you have a mountain lion that typically, let's say, kills a blacktail a week up there, and there are so many black bears that black bears are opportunistic. They smell a dead deer, like, oh, breakfast. So they come in, push the mountain lion off the kill. And of all the mountain lions that they had collared and were studying, I think only one of them was willing to defend her kills. All the rest of them were like, it's not worth it. I'm not fighting this bear. So then the mountain lions go out and kill another deer.
Yeah, because wasn't it that over 50% of the deer that mountain lions killed were stolen from them by black bears?
They ended up killing 6 times the normal amount of deer that they would because of kleptoparasitism.
Oh man, yeah.
So the whole coming back to spot burning, if you're a deer hunter, yeah, we want a lot more people to kill bears. And in that region where they did that study, it's the presumed to be from the data, it's the densest concentration of black bears in the world.
No.
In the world. Over 4 bears per square mile up there. And a lot of poison oak, though. A whole lot of poison oak.
That's why they're in there. That's an overlooked thing. That's why they're there. Kleptoparasitism, you could do a study on that. Like if I'm in my kitchen with my kids and I make a quesadilla, they'd be like, this individual winds up making 4 times as many quesadillas as he normally would have made because of kleptoparasitism. That's pretty fascinating that they had always met the quota. Then when you banned hound hunting, so from 2012 to 2021, with the ban of hound hunting, the quota never gets met. So then you've taken away people's primary way of you take away one of the most effective ways to get bears. And then you have it that you're just going to have more bears, because they're not even able to hit the number that they've regarded to be a very safe number anyway.
Very safe. I mean, that's like the harvest rates in California are well below what would be considered the threshold for sustainable. They estimated about 15% take would be like a sustainable level for the population.
Okay.
In California, at least recently, we're not over 5% for the entire state, 5% for more than one zone, and 3% for the entire state. So, I mean, the harvest rates are incredibly low. And there's some estimates that say you can go up to 20%. I think Pennsylvania and a couple other states have even higher harvest rates, and they have no issues.
Because they got sows with a lot of food, and they're dropping 3 cubs, 4 cubs, whatever. You see videos of, in the east, some bear goes across the road and 5 cubs come running after it, right? Stuff that you just don't see around here.
When those quotas, or when they stopped meeting those quotas, was there a correlation between an increase in bear conflict and an increase in the number of bears that were getting, what they like to say, euthanized, but just shot by management officials, whatever?
Yeah, bear conflict generally from that time period up until today has kind of steadily increased, like human bear conflict. And the department actually, prior to the release of the management plan, they updated their sort of depredation strategy and their human bear conflict strategy. And after that, there's been a lot less euthanasia of bears, but a lot more conflict as well. So it's just a little bit more difficult for the department to go in there and approve for a bear to get taken
because of
for
like
depredation.
social pressure, or
Pretty much.
yeah.
I mean, it follows what the depredation strategy is for mountain lions, which is, previously there was, procedures, but you could kind of, I think my understanding is that wardens could make, a determination, like it's kind of on the fly, like, yes, this is a problem bear. We need to like go in and take care of this. Now there needs to be, there needs to be a record of documentation of attempts to haze the bear. You need to have a number of steps that go through before that depredation tag is issued and before the department will consider actually going in.
Interesting.
I have a question about not hitting that quota. Is the success rate for black bear hunters in obviously like the success rate goes down when they do away with dogs, right? And you're just doing spot and stalk.
They drop 50%. Or no, sorry, not the success rate. Harvest drop 50%.
Yeah. So success, but yeah, I mean, hound hunting has higher efficacy. So I'm wondering, like, in the time that the quota hasn't been met, in the time that the quota has not been met, are success rates among hunters on par with fall bear non-hound seasons in other states? Like, is it a question of there not enough people buying bear tags?
No.
Or is it a question that success rates are much lower in California compared to a similar season in, say, Washington?
My understanding is that they're like some of the lowest of the states that have bears. And I think part of that is cultural. I think in California, there's like something like 25,000 bear tags that get bought every year. It's a good amount of revenue for the department, but there's only about 1,000 to 1,300 bears that are actually getting harvested every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is cultural, and it's just like, it's
Smoking dope, surfing.
Yeah. I mean, that's my problem. But it's people that are going deer hunting and are just buying a bear tag. It's opportunistic.
Yeah.
And, if you don't run into one, all right, whatever.
It's like me and my wolf tag.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
Carry it
That's my
around all
attitude,
season.
yeah. Hate to get caught without it,
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, a super expensive tag. So it's people just kind of buy one, and if they run into a bear, great. But that, I think, skews some of the data, too, of like how much are hunters really trying and how does that success ratio factor in?
Yeah, I guess that was sort of, rather than how many people are buying tags, it's like how many people are actually hunting them. And it sounds like that's where the sort of the
and you
hang-up
probably
is.
lost a ton of hunters once hounds went away. Like, people are like, well, I'm not gonna hunt them a different way, you know.
In 2021, they put forth Humane Society, right?
Yep.
Do we need to once again explain the Humane Society? There's HSUS. I answered my own question. If you're sitting there and you're buying something and there's like a little roundup thing, do you want to round up for the Humane Society? Right? You're thinking, oh, it's the local puppies. Like, HSUS is an anti-hunting organization. You can have a local Humane Society shelter, but HSUS is an anti-hunting organization. There's tons of confusion about this that people have. The difference between the Humane Society writ large, like as a big umbrella, and then like Humane Society shelters. Don't do anything to ever help HSUS. Ever.
I had a question, too, because I was having this debate just 2 days ago. In California, and I'm curious for you guys if you know the answer to this, if it's outside of California, but in California, the Humane Society has police powers where they can actually write you a ticket. And it's enforceable as if it were a police officer. And if you like run from them, it's like you're running from the cops.
That can't be true.
They can write you a ticket.
For what?
100%.
Yelling at your dog?
Pretty much. For having your dog on off leash at the beach. So
No.
100%.
Wow.
I've seen it happen. And it blew my mind. And so I did a bunch of research. And I was like, is this just California where they have this police power? Or is it elsewhere? Because it's definitely problematic.
Man, Corinne be getting a lot of tickets.
Man, they got all worked up about the National Guard, and meanwhile they got the HSUS running around writing tickets.
Here's a journal article from 1998 in the
What?
the Proceedings of the Vertebrate Pest Conference. And the title of the paper is Humane Society, Good Guys or Gestapo.
Oh.
Very provocative.
That is a great title. I'm jealous of that title.
But it does sound like, societies are private organizations that have no inherent power but derive all their powers and authority to enforce animal laws from the state. As in most states in California, the counties can choose to operate their own animal control services or to hire the society to perform animal control services for the county. And they can serve search warrants.
What?
At the time of this, they can serve search warrants, they can carry firearms, and may even use reasonable force and deadly force to prevent the perpetration of any act of cruelty upon an animal.
Wow.
Deadly force.
So I guess they're like
Kind
kind
of
of
put your dog on a leash.
like a county that has to provide animal control services can sort of rent a cop the Humane Society. And
We were talking about the other day with our camera guy, Rick Smith.
mm-hmm.
He was working on this documentary about dogs in Mexico, street dogs. And he's talking about he's like, psychologically, a street dog in Mexico is a way healthier dog. Psychologically. They wake up, they hang out with our dogs, they're in a pack form.
Mm-hmm.
People look at him like, oh, that dog has an infected eye. And they think the dog's hating life. But he's like, they have total autonomy. They have dynamics. They hang out with the dogs they want to hang out with. They travel where they want. And we're talking about this concept that Americans have, people around the world, but like you take a dog, you remove its reproductive organs,
Mm-hmm.
you lock it in the house all day, and you act like you're doing the dog a favor. And I think that all those dogs have, what's that syndrome when you get caught?
Stockholm.
All dogs have, I think dogs are very susceptible to Stockholm syndrome, and they empathize with their captors. I think that they're like a highly susceptible species. And that's why when you come home and your dog's happy, your dog has Stockholm syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
He has come to empathize with his captor.
You ever seen the way dogs in Mexico will try to attack a car? Like,
because they got chutzpah. That's Yiddish.
It's their only natural predator. Like an urban dog, an urban pack of dogs. I swear, there's a pecking order.
That's a great point.
The biggest one will go after like cars, and they'll come in and they'll try to bite the wheels.
Because it's a natural predator,
and they're like showing their dominance. It's a wild thing. I did a study abroad in Santiago.
That's a great point, man.
And I was on a skateboard. And if you're on a skateboard, you'll get like 20 stray dogs that will just come in like they're trying to kill you. And then the second you hop off the board, they're like,
yeah, that's a great
point.
Hey. Cats. I got signed out of my thing.
Oh, I thought you were looking for videos of dogs chasing cars.
No. Phil,
can you pull that
up? Cats are remarkably less susceptible to Stockholm syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But dogs, for whatever reason, weirdly, are like highly susceptible to empathizing with their captors. People that restrain them, don't let them do what they want to do, don't let them hang out with who they want to hang out with, make them eat what they want them to eat when they want them to eat it. No autonomy. Like, you get to go to the yard. It's like prison.
You could say that about
They even
lions.
call it the same thing. Let them out in the yard. Let the prisoners out in the yard.
I love that this is your new crusade. I hope you chase this.
Yeah, but you'd have to because you could say same thing about horses.
I don't know about that.
Well, sure.
Let me think about it for a minute. I want to get back to talking about these bears. Though. The Bear Protection Act. Here's a move where the HSUS, correct? HSUS comes out and says, hey, I got an idea. How about you can't hunt bears at all anymore in California?
SB 252. That was Senator Wiener's bill.
Okay. What happens with the Bear Protection Act?
It got squashed. There was a big uprising from a lot of different organizations, and it got pulled back very quickly.
Okay. That's 2021. 2022, there's a different approach made.
Through the commission.
Okay,
So
explain this now.
the Humane Society filed a petition to the Fish and Game Commission, which honestly,
HSUS. Yeah.
Respectfully, like that is the process, right? The legislature had no business taking that on. And so at least they're going through the proper channel now, right? The commission, but they failed in the legislature. So
like people complain about ballot biology or whatever,
exactly.
but this is like, hey, okay, we'll play by the rules. We'll go to the commission and we'll.
Yep. So they bring forward this petition, and the whole argument is based off of this population model and the collapse of bears. So they're saying, according to their science, they're saying there's only 10,000 bears left in California. And this is we need a moratorium on bear hunting until we can update the management plan and until we have a better population model so that we can, and they're citing, mega fires and climate change. This is causing a catastrophic drop in the bear population.
And they're going back to that, like,
evidence by
not meeting
a
the
decline.
quota.
And
that's what they're going off.
Everything is built
harvest.
around that hunter harvest model, which is when you break down the science, I mean, it's not a solid argument at all. It doesn't take an expert to look at that and go, okay, well, this clearly doesn't really, pass the smell test here.
And it being 2022, they just throw in climate change for a zinger.
And we'd had some huge fires in California, massive fires, right? And so I think that was the topic of the time, right? Is like, what could these giant fires be doing to our bear populations and what are the impacts? And, that's something that I think a lot of people are genuinely curious about. And we actually used chapter money and funded a study on pre and post fire population status of black bears in California in Lassen National Park, just because at this time, we were saying, okay, well, Humane Society, like if you want to talk about this, well, let's put your money where your mouth is. Let's fund some research, right? Let's get to the answer. And so as a part of like BHA and wanting to be an organization that stands for science-based management of wildlife, we had this opportunity from one of the old carnivore biologists in the state, who's a great guy. He came out to like one of our bear camps and talked to people about bear hunting. He mentioned this study, and so we put some money towards it, and it's ongoing. But, I think this is like where we want to be as hunters, like, making sure that we have good data and good science.
And that's but I would think just intuitively, I would think that the fire, outside of mega fires, I would think that the fires are basically generating more and more black hair habitat.
That's the assumption I think most people would agree.
Successional vegetation. So it's cooked for a couple years, but then it goes through a very productive bunch of years with a lot of berry production.
Yep. I think that's
through the successional process. So you're right that you'd like, if you have what's a big in acreage, what's a big fire in California in acreage?
I mean
tens of thousands of acres.
Hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
So you do you can't deny it. If you go into a place and you burn 100,000 acres of ground in a catastrophic wildfire, that is 100,000 acres of ground that for a period of time is not going to be used by black bears for the most part. But then it'll become a patch of ground that is very well used by black bears for a pretty long period of time. But I could see that, like, I could kind of see the argument, but I kind of don't see the argument.
And I think it's one of those examples also where, like, can the bears move somewhere else, right? Is there habitat for them to move into or not?
Yeah.
And I think even following like some of the, especially like low to mid severity fires, I think bears probably move in like right after the fire too. Maybe the habitat and value isn't as good, but it's not like it's gone forever, is my understanding, right? There's going to be some bears that come right back in.
If anyone's listening that knows about this, I'd love to know this answer. Has anyone ever had the opportunity to look at collared black bears, collared mountain lions, and see how they behave with a fire? How far ahead of the fire are they? Do you ever get mortality on collared stuff for getting caught in fires? Like, I'd love to understand that. Like, when you watch a giant fire cooking across a mountainside, I always say to my kids, I'm like, can you imagine how many pine squirrels died in that thing? They're not getting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're cooking thousands and thousands and thousands of pine squirrels. But, like, what are bears doing? Some of them presumably they got to get burned up. Mm-hmm. But I wonder, like, when they move, like, how well do they get it? How good are they at going the right direction? That'd be fascinating if you could ever have a good sample size of like, what is its, at what point did it start to shift its, you know, at what point did it demonstrate any kind of awareness? I would love to see some of that if it's out there. A couple of years ago, you could have gotten it funded as climate change research. But now you won't. You have to think of a different thing. You have to think of a different buzzword to get your research money on. At the same time that they're saying 10,000 bears using hunter harvest data, the California department, as they're saying, now we think we got 20 to 30,000. This is in 2022.
And that's their number they'd stuck with for a while. And there'd been some studies that had pushed that up to 35. But generally speaking, in the documents that they'd had out there, they said, you know, we're thinking it's around 20 to 30.
Okay. That petition doesn't go anywhere, right?
It stuck around for a little while. It was a big deal, right? There, all the anti-hunters came out. All the hunters came out. We actually put together a huge, just all the available literature and science that we could. One of our former board members was a black bear biologist in California. So just like the perfect person to compile all this evidence. And what came of the petition was it was ultimately rejected, but it lit a fire under the department to update their black bear management plan, which was something that the Hunting and Conservation Coalition in California, something that BHA participates in prior to all this, had as one of the top priorities is like, we need a new management plan, because previously when the management plan gets outdated, anti-hunters will come in and say, you don't have good science, we can't hunt it. And so we knew that was like square one, having a defensible position is having good science.
Because they'll use it against you and be like, you haven't updated your management plan since 1998.
Correct.
You have no idea what's going on out there. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they start the process of doing the new management plan, and it goes up for like public opinion, public comment. What was your general vibe on the proposed management plan, or your general take on it?
A general take was it was ambitious because the director said they were going to do it in a year. And everyone went like, you could tell all the scientists and the department staff were like, did he say a year? Because I mean,
we don't do anything fast.
The sheep plan just wrapped up, and that's been going on for over a decade.
Yeah.
You know, these things take a long time, and credit to the department, they got it done in a couple years, but they got a draft out in about a year, and then followed up with the final, just this year. And generally speaking, there's a lot of information in there, but there's a lot of good data, like some of those nuggets that I pulled out about kleptoparasitism. They talk about.
I read I rarely read those whole things. I read that whole damn thing. I thought it was like, I give huge credit to whoever put it together.
Yeah,
it was phenomenal.
There's some really good research that went into that. And just to back up a tiny bit too, our commission, like, I got to give a lot of credit to them, because they really pushed back against this whole notion that just because hunters are the minority in the state, that we should just ban bear hunting. And so the commission really came out in favor of black bear hunting, in favor of hunters, but with the caveat of like, let's get all the data and research that we can to make an informed decision.
Yeah, I think it was like what I got from it when I read it was like a number of recognitions. Like there was a sort of recognition that there's shifting social values in the state. There's a recognition that there are a ton of black bears in more places. It was a recognition that we have historically used bear hunters as a management tool. It recognized bear hunters' contribution to bear research, right? It was very even, and then had just like the whole state history and all their measurement stuff. I thought it was like super informative.
One of the cool things in there too to check out is the range map that they updated, because you can see some of those areas where black bears have expanded, and they updated that map. And it was kind of surprising to me, even. It goes all the way down to the border, to Mexico. And we don't have black bears in San Diego, although we did have one that ran down into like Ramona, I think it was last year. So it's not a common occurrence, but you can imagine if things stay on the same trajectory, that those bears will probably move down there.
Yeah.
If they continue to move out. I mean, we've been we've had bears pouring into Nevada for years and years now. Like their bear population is bolstered by all these bears that are just leaving California because the taxes are too high or whatever.
Yeah. You know, with that black bear management plan they put out, which is like a proposal, right? I mean, they have a proposal part of it.
Well, they had the draft management plan, and then they finalized it just this year.
Okay, so that I'm less schooled on, but I remember in there they were saying like there's things that you could do, or people were asking for certain things like Californians are limited to one bear.
Yep.
And since the quota is not being met, and you have more bears, like categorically more bears than you did when they established the quota, and the quota is not being met, they were like, we could do X, Y, and Z. We could give everybody 2 bear tags, which I don't think is going to make a huge difference. Probably
it's the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But I agree. I don't necessarily know that's even going to get us to the quota, but it's a very logical first step, and that's actually what BHA did. Is we filed a petition to the commission right after the management plan was finalized, and we reviewed it as the like easy slam dunk lowest hanging fruit. Everybody could buy 2 bear tags because then one, it's just more revenue for the department.
Yeah.
If some people are like, oh, well, I'm going to go deer hunting and maybe I'll see 2 bears. You never know. Like, so that for us was just like an easy win. But there's other proposals that the department are going to bring forward that we're aware of, including expanding some of the bear hunting zones. So like in northeastern California and the Modoc Plateau, that has been closed to bear hunting. It's because it's not historically occupied bear habitat, but the bears have moved in there. There's, good genetic diversity. There's good bear hunting up there. So it seems like a logical place to, let's open that up. There's no reason not to hunt bears there. They're going to potentially talk about season timing. It's a pretty wide open season right now around when deer season starts, and it goes like to the end of the year in most zones. So they may look at that as well as if there's any improvements there or additional opportunities. But I think those are the big first things that the department's going to try to address this year. I don't think spring bear baiting dogs, that's not coming from the department.
It's hard to bring that stuff back once you.
What does it take to bring it back? Like, well, I appreciate the efforts. I appreciate your guys' efforts on this. I appreciate the efforts. To me, like, these are all wins. They're battles. They're little wins, right? They're battles that you win. The war, to me, like, to win the war, it would be that we would be able to go in and revert. We would have success in going in and reverting some of the major management, the historic major management decisions. Like, hunters look at winning oftentimes at defeating. We look at winning.
We didn't lose. As
defeating losses, meaning Colorado's like, okay, we're going to ban bobcat hunting, mountain lion hunting. Hunters come together, fight it, and the victory is that you didn't lose the ban.
You maintain the status quo.
You maintain the status quo. I would love to see, like, that somehow we would pull off that trapping came back to Colorado. That hound hunting came back to California. That the mountain lion season came back to California. What does that take in California? Like, is that just not, I mean, like, give me the realistic. Is that just not going to happen?
I mean, when you talk about mountain lion, it's not going to happen because of when that legislation was passed, the way it was passed, it will require a 4/5 vote majority in the legislature to bring mountain lion hunting back in California.
Are you serious?
4/5. So, I mean, mountain lion, as much as we would like to see it, that is not the
so
priority.
That's the threshold.
One. Yeah. For bears, it's a different story.
Okay, hit me with bears.
Bears, we had a bill this year, AB 1038, that almost made it out of committee. It actually, there was a lot of work done by a lot of great organizations to bring that forward. This is like a houndsman bill, primarily as a sponsor, and it was before the management plan was finalized, and now it's a 2-year bill. So in California, the legislative session spans 2 years. So this is basically just kind of going to get recycled into next year, but doesn't have to necessarily start from square zero. In order to bring hound hunting back, it will require the legislature's approval. And so what this bill tried to do is this bill tried to allow for the use of hounds for basically tree and free, from like a perspective of human bear conflict. But it also, the reason why it got
I don't mean
so
to
much
roll my eyes.
opposition.
That's great. That's great, but it's not what I'm talking about.
Right. But what it did also is that it allowed for it delegated the authority, as it should be, to the commission to determine whether or not there should be a hound hunting season.
Got it.
So it took it out of the legislature's hands, put it in the commission's hands where it belongs, and that was too much for the anti-hunters in the state. But I think that it's not something that's out of the question. I think these things have to happen in their stages. And now that we have the management plan, let's say we get a second bear tag, we expand the zones, we do everything we can, and we still don't hit the quota, and we can show the negative impacts to other species, mule deer,
which is big,
charismatic megafauna like mountain lions. I mean, if you want to like really make the argument, bears are negatively impacting mountain lions, right? Like we need to manage them to an extent where we can actually be successful.
Now you're getting back into that Machiavellian stuff, man. It's like, I just feel bad for the mountain lions. We need to be able to hunt more bears.
So I don't know if the one thing that sticks out to me about this new plan, and I don't know if we've touched on it and I missed it, but it's got a new population model, which again is like one of these little steps that leads towards reframing the whole conversation, right? So the current statewide black bear population is what now? According to the best available science.
According to the new IPM, the integrated population model, it's 59,000 with but it could be up to 80.
Let me scroll back up.
And the 59 is conservative.
I want to remind people where we are.
Low end.
1980, 10 to 15,000 bears in California. Best scientific guess, 10 to 15,000 in California. Hit me again now.
59,000 up to 80,000. Wow. The most bears in the lower 48. The highest density of bears, black bears in the world in Northwest California.
And that's, I mean,
there's too many places claiming to have the highest density of black bears.
It's in the management. They take it. They like put their flag in the ground. They're like, anyone else come challenge us, but this is the data that we have.
And like getting stuff like that
that'd
funded
be a good thing for Atlas is the different places that compete. The different places,
New Jersey and California,
for the densest. Well, and then portions of Southeast Alaska also claim to have the highest density.
Yeah.
This is also per 100 square kilometers. So it's like 156 bears per 100 square kilometers is their metric, which is like just over 4 bears a square mile. So I don't know if someone
else a lot.
Someone else is like, we got the most bears in this quadrant or whatever. But I think a square mile is a pretty good,
I see it.
metric.
Yeah, and then it depends on how big the area. Like if I put a bunch of bears on this table, could I say like that's the densest population of black bears in North America?
Yeah.
This table. So it's got to be like how much area are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's a sizable chunk of ground though.
Oh yeah, it's huge. I mean, there's a ton of public land that you can hunt in California for black bears.
Do you do some specific fall black bear hunting?
I'm excited to do some more fall black bear hunting. I've been living in San Diego for 10 years, been hunting for 13 years. My wife and I got into it. We've been trying to kill our San Diego deer, which might as well be the unicorn of the woods.
Okay.
She was successful. She killed one with her bow.
Oh, seriously? That's cool.
And we've been hunting together for a long time. Now we have a couple kids. It's trickier to like get out together and do that.
Yeah, you got to focus on crayfish.
Exactly. Where I can really make bang for my buck. Stowy, rest in peace. But I've gotten to do a little bit of black bear hunting, mostly when I'm like traveling for work. Like we've been doing this big restoration project up in Northeast California, and so when I go up there, I always have my deer tag, and shot a deer a couple years ago, and almost shot a bear, but a little out of range. Usually bow hunting. But my friend who shared that picture, Ned, who does some guiding in the Eastern Sierra, he's been trying to get me to come up with him. So I'm pretty excited to get up, and I got like 10 points for deer. So I'm going to cash in next year. I'm going to scout my deer zone and go hopefully kill a bear this fall.
Cool. I was hanging out with a guy in California this winter, and this weirdest thing, man, like he manages a ski area. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what ski area. I don't want all hellfire to come down.
Out of respect for the town.
Out of respect for the individual. It's not like my story, my crime and punishment story. So check this out, though. It's January. And this is January in the mountains. Okay. At a ski hill. I pull in to meet him. There is a bear standing under, like, you park in a parking lot and you walk up this zigzag old rickety stairs to get in, to enter the bar at the ski area. There's a bear standing under the porch, standing there. And his buddy, another bear, is standing off to the side of the stairs. I can't, like, I'm like...
Forgot his ID or what?
It's like, yeah. You know when you read, like people seeing things they can't comprehend? I'm stuck in the moment. I mean, the snow is... So, you can't walk through the woods. Okay, we're using snowcats to get around. You cannot walk around without snowshoes. I'm like feeling like, oh man, did I come through a fence? And this is like I couldn't comprehend what I'm seeing. He's like, oh no, man, these are like the town bears. He says they don't even hibernate anymore.
Mm.
They live in town. They walk around. He had a couple years earlier got one. And he's like, dude, man, I kept that under wraps.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
He said, there's no way I could have told anybody about that. And it was on his property. He tagged it.
Well, so this is the thing with the two tags is they, in Montana in the last legislative session, they're trying to pass a bill through the Fish and Wildlife Committee or in the House, whatever, to let hunters buy 2 lion tags in areas that had really low success rates.
Yep.
And there's this question of like, well, if people aren't killing lions there now, what's them having an extra tag going to do? And the point was made was that a lot of these areas are places where there's not great access. And so or there's like considerations about hunting around city limits, things like that. And a lot of hunters wouldn't be like, are pretty conservative when it comes to like butting up against private property or whatever. And so in the case of like these town bears, if there are some guys that hunt and have properties where they can hunt, like having that person buy a second tag it's not going to tip the scale, but it increases harvest in these places where it's tricky to address it.
I got me a permission on this spot.
For a town bear?
I just don't know if I can deal with the heat. That's what I told them. They got property. He said, man, you have no problem. I was like, I don't know, dude. That seems like a good way of getting an argument with an old lady.
Near wine country?
An old lady with a cat or a dog on a leash.
There's an interesting tidbit, too. I think it's from the management plan, but bears that get accustomed to human food and are like your town bears, they reproduce earlier and more often. And so, like you're saying, they stop hibernating. I think it's just like those bears, and it's like 2 whole separate conversations, right? Like, how do you deal with the bears in Tahoe and Mammoth, and like the human bear conflicts that are there? Because some of those places, there's little pockets here and there that you can hunt, but the vast majority of those bears are not necessarily like the huntable population, right? Yeah. That's just like an education campaign for people to stop being idiots and start locking up their food. And, that's where that whole like, human bear conflict conversation comes in. But, hunting will improve human bear conflict, but it's not the like end all solution, right? Some of these places like require education, require people being smart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't, I keep talking about that approach of, like, I need to be clear about what I'm after here. I see people that are on I'm making a mess of this argument. Let me back up. I often see people use a rhetorical strategy in these conversations that I'm uncomfortable with. They would say, we can't ban mountain lion hunting in Colorado because mountain lions are going to kill all of our children if we do that. Like, it's so tempting to do that because it helps you get what you want.
Yeah, to scare people into it.
It's so tempting to vilify, to be like, grizzlies like here's the thing I believe. It's time to delist grizzly bears in the greater Yellowstone and northern Rocky Mountain ecosystems. Those deep, distinct population, DPSs. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't then go, it's time because grizzlies are going to kill us all, which is how you get there. Because then you make it an issue that moms, hikers, whatever, you make it their problem by intimidating them.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people do it, and very well-intentioned people do it. And I'm always like, man, I can't personally traffic in this argument that I'm so afraid of a bear, because we have bears all over our yard in the fall. I'm so afraid of a bear in my yard that we have to hunt more bears. They're going to kill us all. But I wish I could. Earlier, I used like being like the Machiavellian approach. It's like anything to win, right? And I just don't like it. You know, I think it's worthwhile to point out. Bear-human conflict, but I can't put it that my motivation, that I'm motivated first and foremost by preventing bear-human conflict.
You don't want to get out the pitchforks and torches for the scary monsters.
Yeah, I'm motivated by, here's a renewable resource. There are people that want to use and utilize and enjoy this renewable resource, and it will not be a detriment to the species. Therefore, since the species is fine, they'll continue to occupy the landscape in California. Let those people who would choose to exercise their historic privilege of utilizing the resource for food, skin, whatever, allow them to continue to do so because it doesn't imperil the integrity of the species. If you got to get there by talking about bears eating your dog's food, I'd do it, but I'd rather not.
I think an interesting take on that too is that when you talk about like problem bears, right? And depredations and relocations, and this goes for like large carnivores. In California, we have an interesting perspective for a lot of mountain lions. And we relocate a lot of these, in these depredation instances, we relocate.
Yep.
And I know particularly for mountain lions in the Sierra Nevadas, in the Eastern Sierra, where we have an endangered subspecies of bighorn sheep, there are problem cats when the sheep come down low enough. There's like a big snow year, the sheep come down low and they just get massacred by these mountain lions.
Okay.
And particular mountain lions will kill a bunch of sheep. So they'll there's, instances where they've taken that cat and moved them 150 miles away, comes right back and starts killing sheep again. And they do it again. 300 miles away, comes right back and keeps killing sheep.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, at what point are we spending resources? Like, if we can, if we don't have to kill it, sure. If it can be a huntable, animal, great. But, at what point are we spending resources to basically just put a Band-Aid on something that's going to come right back in? So I think that's the question there of like, you can't be fear-mongering that, the bears are going to kill us all. But also like we have to be smart about our strategies and how we're using hunting as a management tool and how we're employing depredation to, like prevent problem bears from coming in and killing like the lady in Downeyville, right? Like, which was, I think, part of that, like catalyst of that story.
Yeah, that was like a very emblematic story where here's a person complaining about a bear. The bear eventually comes in her house and kills her. And it was like, yee, right?
I might have seen that bear too, because my friend lives like a mile or two down the road.
Was that right?
And I've seen bears at this place. I've hunted deer up there, and I had a couple looks at bears. So after that, I was thinking like, I wonder if I saw that bear. Like, man, I wish I
might have
gotten closer
with him.
Yeah.
Here, because grizzlies are ESA animals, they'll go to great ends to move a problem grizzly bear. For the most part, when you tattletale on a black bear for doing something bad, I'm always telling people not to tattletale on the ones around town. Like if enough people tattletale on a black bear, he's dead. Because think about it like this. You got to move it 250 miles to get out of where it's not, where he's not just going to show back up. So here you have an understaffed agency with, budget constraints like any wildlife management agency is going to deal with. You got a very healthy population of black bears, a growing population of black bears. A black bear starts killing some chickens. Are you really going to send a guy out he's going to catch it. You're going to pay him the whatever days it takes to bring that thing 250 miles away, come back, right? It's just, it's not the time and money.
He's going to use dogs to do it. That, dog teams are like how they'll get a contract houndsman to come in and catch those bears oftentimes. I mean, they'll do traps, but
culvert traps, dogs, whatever. But it's like they're not gonna, they're not gonna spend the time and money on it. It's burdensome. And then at any given time, like September comes, and I don't know. I had a guy tell me one time, like in this town, September comes, they were monitoring like 11 or 12 in town that people are calling up and complaining about. So I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it's just interesting about how they view it. Then you got these guys here dressing up like bears.
That's just another day at the office.
So what do you think is going to wind up happening?
I think I can say with somewhat, confidently that I think this year we'll see a second bear tag. We'll see expanded hunting zones into northeastern California.
Okay.
Maybe a little tweaks to the season, but nothing substantial there.
More generous tweaks.
Mm-hmm. I don't know as much here. This is where we start to get into like a little bit more uncertainty. The San Luis Obispo, there's a lot of people that are calling for bear hunting down there. There was an effort maybe about like 10 years ago to establish a bear hunt there because it's been historically closed. And the department had said there's 1,000 bears and we should hunt them. And then there was a big effort to block that, saying, you don't have enough data, you don't have enough research. They did a study in 2014 to 2015. It's pretty short, it's a pretty small sample size, but the study indicated they thought there was only like 100 bears there. And so that was kind of like the proof of the pudding that, no, we're not going to do a bear hunt here. There's not enough. And so I think San Luis Obispo still is like a wild card. The genetic diversity down there is not the same as it is in all the other areas, even though it doesn't warrant any concern or management action. So I think if there were to be maybe another study or some more research that could be done into the population there, I think we could definitely see hunting established there, but I don't know that that's going to happen this year. Spring season.
Yeah, what's that going to take?
I think that's going to take, I think it's going to be a walk before you run. So I think we need to like lay this foundation where we're at, hopefully we hit the quota. I don't think we will necessarily. Show that like there's still more management that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then we start looking at, what's next, right? Is it spring season? Is it dogs? Is it dogs before spring season so that you can have a better opportunity to, sex the bear when you got it up in a tree and make sure it doesn't have any cubs? Like those are the types of arguments that I think the community is a little bit more split, but that we need to have as we move forward. But in order to like not provoke that substantial backlash and another bill in the legislature, I think we got to take these wins and just chip away. But we are on the, we're moving forward, right? We're not on the defensive anymore, which is promising, right? It's like, it's a really, it's a great time to have our department and our commission using the science. We have new, like updated, robust science to advocate for like better management and better hunting opportunity. And so I'm really optimistic in California where we're going to go. Hopefully we just keep chipping away.
Let's do a quick round table. If you're the king of
California?
You're like Reagan. You're Reagan. You're the king of California. And someone said, okay, you can have back spring bear hunting, or you can have back hound hunting in the fall. Take your pick.
I'd do hounds.
Brody's on hounds.
With that number of bears, yeah, hounds.
Corinne?
I feel like I'm not qualified to speak.
Are we talking about this as a management tool or just what I want to do?
What you want to do?
Oh.
Not what you want to do.
Oh.
Just for the betterment of hunters.
Oh.
Someone said, okay, I can't do both. I can do one.
I'd restore hound hunting because that was the traditional use up till the 80s, right?
How bad's poison oak in the spring?
Plus, I got questions.
Oh, it's terrible. That's when I got it the worst, turkey hunting.
You just
Hound
get the
hunting.
dogs go through the poison oak and you stand on the outside.
A spring
Hound
season.
hunting. I'm not going in there.
It seems like in a lot of California, a spring season would be a lot different than like a spring season in Montana, just based on like climate weather, right? Like when the bears are all popping out in May. Like, I don't know that like.
No, this is a mountainy.
I know in places, yeah, but
Yeah.
there's like
A lot of
of
places-
country where it might not be like
Yeah,
that.
it might not be as they might not be as concentrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll vary, I think, by geography for sure.
Yep.
Even without the poison oak question, I would say as well hounds. Just to have that win for houndsmen
Mm-hmm.
who get beat up on all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else you want to tell us about?
Just the 3 million acres of public lands for sale.
But that's the show.
That's off topic.
It's not off topic. It's also out of time because it's the release schedule. We can't just put these up when we want.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. So we'll just cut that out. By the time you say that, it'll be something different tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
If it wasn't, that's what we'd be talking about.
Bullfrogs?
Yeah, when are you guys gonna
Bullfrogs?
come kill some bullfrogs with me?
How many you getting?
We're getting like our good nights are like 30, 20 to 30.
What?
Yeah, big one, big fucking bullfrogs.
Can you 22 them or how are you getting them?
We're shooting them with pole spears mostly, like Hawaiian slings.
Yeah.
Spear fishing stuff.
Are you allowed to 22 them?
Nope.
Do they
We couldn't do that where I grew up either.
do they treat them like an invasive species there? Like you're just allowed to get as many as you want?
Yep.
Yeah.
No season invasive species. And I'm doing it with the Forest Service because they've got a population of endangered arroyo toads that the bullfrogs are just hammering.
Eating them.
And so we go in, shoot the bullfrogs, eat them. It's my wife's favorite food. It's a good time. Oh, I could also tell you guys about
So what kind of ground are you on? Where are you doing this at?
It's like, riparian, little creeks and things that, kind of spread out into sort of marshiness.
Are you hearing them in there? Jerome.
Yeah, if it's
Jug of rum.
if it's like, May. It depends on when it gets warm enough. But then when they're breeding and you hear them doing the like,
Are you lighting them up or hitting them in the daytime?
oh, we're lighting them up. Yeah, we're going at night. My friend who's the biologist, we both he's got 3 kids that are little. I got 2, right? We don't have time. And so kids go to bed. We're like, wives don't care. The kids are asleep. We don't have to work. I don't have to take a day off. And we just go out there for hours shooting frogs.
In Michigan, it's one of the dumbest game laws in Michigan that I'll never understand is you cannot hunt bullfrogs with an artificial light in Michigan. And this is a place where exactly 0 people hunt bullfrogs since I left. Like how that even came to be on anyone's mind, I'll never understand. You cannot use an artificial light to spear a bullfrog. I'll never how that even was like on the radar of somebody.
Fair chase.
Yeah, which means there's no bullfrog culture.
Yeah, it's like
That
getting
state
rid of
has
hounds.
no bullfrog culture.
That's sad.
You pole spear them.
Yep.
Have you just tried getting a big gig with like a 12-foot handle on it?
I don't have one, but I have a long pole spear. I've got like a 9-foot pole spear, and I put some weird things on the end of it that I've been able to find. So it's basically a gig, right? But then you've got the sling, so you can get some range on it, right?
Yeah.
Shoot that thing out in the middle of a little pond.
Yep. And then big old fatties.
Big fatties.
Like show me the legs up with your hands. How far are the legs from the tip of his toes to his hips to his pelvis?
Oh, they're like that fat around.
No.
What?
Yeah,
like
it's
chickens.
bullfrog. Yeah, they're like chicken legs. They're from the
Dude,
hip.
really?
Yeah, some good legs.
California is
Different
the
kind of
promised
episode,
land.
Steve.
What's peak month out there?
We're just kind of coming out of it, probably.
What's poison ivy situation like? In there?
It's chilled out. Southern California's not so bad. Poison oak's really more like
I'll just stay in the water.
northern. Yeah,
Huh.
there's no.
That would
poison
be
oak.
fun, man. 20 to 30 at night.
and it's good for conservation, right? Like,
But can I be square with you though?
no,
Do you really think does like there are so when you look at wildlife management, invasive species management, with the exception of nutrias in Chesapeake Bay and maybe some other examples, are there really any case studies in which something was mechanically removed?
we're never getting rid of these bullfrogs. We're not living
I just
under
want
any.
to be straight with each
We're
other.
not living under any false. But
Yeah, it's like
but
people
we
that
are
like shooting lionfish is like, you're going to get them all, huh?
Yeah. But in this area, like we are hammering them to the extent that it's allowing more arroyo toads to reproduce.
Yeah.
So from a conservation perspective, like it's having an impact, while if we were to stop doing this in 5 years, it'd be a bazillion more bullfrogs,
Yeah, I got it.
right?
Got
Like
it. So
I mean,
it's like any kind of control.
yeah.
It's like it's targeted, helpful control, but it winds up being that that toad will remain basically conservation dependent on some amount of mechanical removing.
Likely, yeah.
But I mean, I'll travel for a good bullfrog hunt no matter what, because those are good numbers for big fatties.
Yeah, and you get the spearfishing combo. Shoot some frogs at night and some fish during the day.
Really?
Oh yeah. You want to go spearfishing? I'll
Like
put you on some fish.
what would we go for? Calicos and like sheep's head or what?
If it's the summertime, like right now, depending on what you wanted, like definitely could find some calicos. You might find a halibut. If we went out into the kelp bed, good chance you find a yellowtail or a white sea bass. But if you want like
I don't believe in white sea bass. I don't think they're. I don't believe. If you want
a surefire guarantee, like I will put you on a fish. It's the Corbina.
Oh, really?
100%, because they're in 5 feet of water, less.
Yeah.
I mean, they're right there feeding on sand crabs in the shore. And so I've taken people that have never spearfished before in their lives and just dragged them out. And you have to be somewhat comfortable in the water, because every once in a while a wave will just toss you on the sand. Yeah. Because you're in there at like this much water trying to get in and shoot these things. But you can shoot a lot. It's a lot of fun.
I got a lucky not San Diego, but I got a lucky yellowtail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, doing a bunch of other stuff, but then I lucked into which is the only yellowtail I've ever gotten.
I got one on my kayak and then had a hammerhead come in and try to get it.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I was 3 miles out. And
Did you save the fish?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, after I got in, it was like an hour paddle back in, or, I had one of those pedal kayaks my neighbor let me borrow. And this thing circled us and bumped my boat for an hour. We got into shore. We have GoPro videos.
He just wanted that fish.
Oh, yeah. Just smelled the blood. The blood from the gaff was just coming in the water. And I was holding the tail like this in between my legs as I was pedaling. And I got to shore. Well, right before I got to shore, went through the surf break, and I was like, the 10-foot hammerhead behind me. Sorry, dudes. I want to get out of the water. And then I got into shore, and I tried to like open my hand because I had so much adrenaline. And I had to like pry my fingers off this fish because it was just like, it's not going to get it.
That frog hunt sounds fun. Big fatties.
Big fatties, man.
Boom. Around here, all you hear is bang. You know what that is? Bang.
Someone shooting and missing?
No, that's people thinking they hear a bullfrog, but it's a green frog.
Oh, yeah.
Bang.
There's some right out back here.
Yeah, you want that boom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. It makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. That's what my dad said about the smell of German cigarettes, man. Made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. I hope you get let's get some bear hunting in California back on the thing.
Come on down.
Yeah, because you guys got people like to hack on California, but if you guys get some big wins like that, people start being like, I love that place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sportsman's paradise for if you know the right species to go after, or if you draw that tag that you save up your points, right?
Well, this is my final thought on it, and this is something I bring up a lot. Like everywhere you go in the country, everywhere you go, there's two people next door to each other. There's the guy that there's too many people now. Fish and Game did this. The Wolves did that. And they sit in their house and bitch. And always somewhere right around his house is the dude who's like, dude, you can't even scratch the surface. There's so much to do. Do you know what I mean? They're neighbors. Everywhere you go in the country, you will find those two people in very close proximity to each other. I always try to be with the dude who's like, you can't scratch the surface. No. So keep getting after it.
Yeah, just looking in the wrong place, man.
Yeah, you sound like a can't scratch the surface kind of guy. Yeah, love it.
As long as I can do it after my kids go to bed.
All right, man. Thank you.